Joined by Leon Simons, climate researcher with the Club of Rome, a nonprofit focused on some of the world's most pressing issues, joining us from the Netherlands. So I'm not sure how hot it is where you are today, but look, I know there's been a summer of records seemingly in store for the Northern Hemisphere. Does that look to be the picture this year?
Yes, it is really an extraordinary year. North Atlantic is 0.7 degrees Celsius warmer than it has ever been for this date. And that's an area of 40 million square kilometers. So that's, in my opinion, even more pressing and more extraordinary than the surface air temperatures, which are breaking, of course, headlines. But yes, so that indeed we will be seeing a lot more heat, a lot more record breaking in the coming 3 months and even 1.5 years as El Nino is getting started in the Pacific. So we have really an extraordinary 1.5 years to look forward to.
Yikes. Look, when we start talking, temperature records and these things making headlines, making news shows, does this actually, kick awareness up a notch? What does it do for the cause?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of awareness now, but we have been looking at satellite data now for the past 3 years. There's been globally, there's been a decrease in the emissions of sulfur from shipping and from coal plants, which use cleaner fuels and which reduce the emissions. And then we see that there's a very high increase in the Earth's energy imbalance. That means that the planet is containing more and more heat faster and faster. So we've been seeing these spikes already in the data, that there's more heat in the system. And now this heat is starting to translate to more heat in the lower atmosphere. So the 2 meters of the surface where most of us live, of course, that's what many of us care about most, because that's where we live our lives. But we've been seeing this all happening already, and so we really have to prepare for a lot of very extreme weather to come. And we see now, for example, more and more climate protests, but we also see very tense responses to that. So I think that also we should be worried for fighting for really what we see more struggles of people, deaths. Last year alone in the heat wave in Europe, 60,000 people died. And wow. In the floods in Pakistan, 1,500 people died. That's already a lot. But if you see in Europe, we're really underestimating what's happening at the moment.
That's obviously a lethal danger. Like, what do we see from country to country, though? Is it, sort of widespread? Are people dealing with this in the same way, or are certain countries able to deal with it better than others? Is there increased wildfire danger? What are the issues now facing the continent?
Yeah, so we see now, of course, in Canada, there's 10 million 10 million hectares of forest already burned. The highest area burned before was 4 million hectares, and the fire season is only just getting started. And I think people are really underestimating this. I heard your prime minister was dehydrated because he spent too much time in the sun and didn't drink enough water. Because we reduce air pollution now, we really have to watch the sun, because the sun is shining much more brighter on the surface of the planet. Farmers in Netherlands, for example, they're yet not used to wear sunscreen, but now the sun is so much more powerful because there's less pollution. So they have to start wearing sunscreen, otherwise they get cancer. And so there's many things we are underestimating, which are now all coming together at this time.
Look, I've seen some sea temperatures as well. We started out you mentioning this, how much this really connects to the world's seas. Sea temperatures in places like South Florida getting to be, well into the 90s, 40 degrees Celsius. Cooking, life that's in there. Is this all just escalate? Does it all just snowball, so to say, when it comes to these effects?
Yeah. So all these, if oceans warm up, oceans can hold less CO2. So of course, fossil fuel burning releases greenhouse gases, CO2, and then cold ocean water normally absorbs this CO2 like a soft drink. But if the oceans gets warmer, they start releasing CO2. And then indeed what you say, so if the corals, for example, in the ocean at Florida, if the ocean gets so warm, the corals, they start bleaching and they also start dying. So that all these effects stack onto each other. So we really need to prepare for a lot more extreme weather to come, and take care of the biosphere, take care of the people, not just in the Western countries, but also in developing countries. I see you share some images from deserts. Yeah. For example, India or Africa, these countries are already, of course, very hot, and now they are reaching a point where it will be very hard to survive.
Leon Simons, grim picture, I know, and a hot week, to say the least. We appreciate all your expertise and your view on the subject here. So thanks for helping us understand what's happening around us.